That's why it's so important to go to my website and the banknotes, you remember? And that serially I'm republishing Leonard Reed's book, Vision. Now that's going to take about 2 years to complete, but we're on chapter 11 or 12 right now, something like that. But what a fantastic mind that guy was. And remember, that was the most educated man I ever met in my life. He had no degrees from anywhere. Neither did Henry Hazlitt, his co-founder. So what does that tell you about our educational system versus what can be done out there if people just simply go do what comes naturally? As Bob was saying to me earlier when we first met, that all this stuff that you're talking about is just common sense. Well, that's the man on the street's definition of economics. Yeah.
Nelson,
yes.
Banking had a lot to do with the difference between Canada and the United States.
Yes, yes.
Because in the United States, bankers were private back then. I mean, I'm talking 200 years ago.
Right.
And industry became available, was created in the United States because bankers were willing to lend large sums of money.
Yep.
Canada, on the other hand, the banks were regulated right from the very get-go. They were not willing to lend the large sums of money. So consequently, the United States is an industrial nation and Canada is a mercantile nation.
Yeah.
In other words, we distribute the products that industries make rather than make the products that the mercantiles distribute.
Thank you for recognizing that. I hope you will catch on to what he's saying there. That that thought process, you see, came from the mercantilism from the mother country. Well, this was firmly embedded in the mind of Alexander Hamilton. And what it amounted to is our brand of coercion is better than the brand of coercion we used to be in. I don't see anything wrong with coercion. This is all about elitism, folks. Just a few people, just like the banker told you, they want the control under them. And you peasants line up and do what we say. But you gotta make it something, make it feel like they're doing something for you. Hence, government plans in the U.S. tax qualified plans, and you don't have that up here, do you? Anywhere you want to name, it's always there. See, it's this way. Did I tell you about doing the seminar in Pocatello, Idaho a few years ago, and I was explaining the absurdity of people participating in tax qualified plans? I said, they're going to steal your money. Let's face it, in our country and yours, every tax qualified retirement plan is a function of the code. Well, I don't know anybody who's ever read the IRS code in the U.S. Now, I did meet one that said that he said he did, but I can't visualize anybody doing that. Why would anybody do so? I do know that the first 9 pages of the IRS code describe income. That's the definition of income in their eyes. Now, the next 1,100 pages are exceptions to the code. Well, from my background of learning how to classify things, if I can read 3 or 4 of those exceptions, I can tell you what every last one of the rest of them say. In essence, it says, we own everything, and we are going to grant you these exceptions. That's their way of controlling your life. Well, don't play their game. Don't get involved in a tax qualified plan. Now, talk about a foreign idea to the average person in the USA. That's the epitome of it. They can't visualize life without a tax qualified plan of some sort. Mary's seatmate on the airplane coming out to Orange County was our first leg of our trip here, and she had struck up a conversation that was looking pretty promising. But we're talking about doing away with Social Security. Oh, she went in the tailspin. Now, one of my very best friends in my church, talk to them about things of the nature that we're talking about now. And he says, oh, I agree with everything that you say, but I just don't think we should do away with Social Security. It has totally possessed the people's minds. They're totally dependent on that. Do y'all realize that's why I put in the Warehouse of Wealth the story of the Israelite nation going down into Egypt for 430 years as slaves as a result of a government handout? Once you ever take a government handout, it will screw your mind up and you can't think straight. Yes?
I was a social worker for 13 years, and the system is created for you never to get ahead.
Yes.
And if you actually try to get ahead, they kick you out of the system.
Yes.
So if you lived in, there was a word for it, it's like intergenerational poverty. As an immigrant to Canada, I was like, we didn't understand it, because we're like, how can you be born in Canada, speak English, and like not be wealthy? Because like when your parents die, don't they leave you everything and then you just start off better the next generation? So when I became a social worker, these things started, like they're built into the system because you can't get out of it, right? There's a book that I read, it's Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Yes, that's
Oh, I
a
read
fantastic book. Well, that's one that everybody should read.
What's
Yeah.
the title again?
Outwitting.
Outwitting the Devil.
It's a really good
It was
read.
banned for many, many years
Yes.
until he died. And
Right.
back until
And his widow died. Before. But
It was
he-
promised not to publish it.
Right.
There's one of the like the evils in there is he says if you can keep a man's belly full, you can control him forever. And so government assistance, and while I love many aspects of being a social worker, that was something that I really struggled with, was
Sure.
that system.
Sounded like a good thing, but after a while you realized you were part of the system. And she seceded. Do y'all understand? She seceded. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that the easiest way to secede and get real freedom is to control the banking function. You do not have freedom until you get financial freedom. The rest of it's just conversation. And the only way that I see that it can be done permanently is through dividend paying old life insurance. And what a fantastic idea it is. But we've got to get this general public educated to it. We've even got to get the life insurance companies educated to it. It's true. Yes.
You hear the term financial literacy thrown around a lot. It seems to me that literacy is not enough. People need financial liberty.
Yes. Well, go back to the bicycle there. What did he say? Understanding,
Knowledge.
Knowledge
What did he say?
Knowledge.
Knowledge is not understanding. Okay. For instance, I know a lot of folks, my mother-in-law, she knew about Jesus Christ. But did she know him? Understanding is difference. Okay. All right, but you see, this is what infinite banking is all about. There's much greater scope than what people see. It's just the fact that the means of accomplishing all this economic freedom is through free contract. Look to the means, Emerson said. And you see, the state is an abstraction in people's minds. You can't really put your finger on it. The government is the means of carrying it out. The government is the means of carrying it out. Hear what Rosette said, government conceptually is not the same as the state. Government, as Thomas Paine explained, arises from society. Its design and end being freedom and security. In this view, government has but two laws. The first being, hurt no man, and the second, then do as you please. And that the whole business of government should be purely negative, and one to see that this code is carried out. The Declaration of Independence has the same understanding as Paine, which is that to secure rights, government instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. Government does not arise from conquest and confiscation. The state does. Now, why in the world would you want to use the state to control your financial affairs? Well, just don't. I know thousands of people that will never touch a tax qualified plan. And so this brings me back to Coachella, Idaho, and I was explaining to that group how putting money into a tax qualified plan of any kind, that is the easiest money that governments can get to and steal.
We did it recently in Cyprus.
Sure, but people say, oh, that's just over that Cyprus. And so I explained. Years ago, Brazil went out in the boonies, in the jungle, and built a new capital city, Brasilia. You can Google it. You can, what's the word? The satellite stuff, you know.
Google Earth.
Yeah, Google Earth, yeah. And see Brasilia. Where'd they get the money to build that thing? They confiscated. They stole the reserves on all the pension plans. You get a whole bunch of money together, and that is too irresistible for bureaucrats to invade. Now, how do they invade it? They create an emergency. You see, I'm leading the movement to change the name of Washington, D.C. to the Fear Factory. And you got an equivalent over in Ottawa.
Touche.
Well, they all do. Every last one of them. And so learning how to be free people is what this is all about. Well, then I went on in Pocatello, Idaho, to say that Argentina did the same thing. Well, God is good. Young man was there, was born in Buenos Aires, grew up there. He says, yes, every 5 years. The fund builds up, got you. Builds up, got you. But he never kept on. Any of y'all familiar with the history of the Argentine country?
Relatively.
Yeah.
Spent 10 days in Buenos Aires, so saw a lot of that firsthand.
How long ago?
2.5 years ago.
We were there a little bit before you.
Yeah.
But that country was established with the same European stock that established our part of the world. And a little over 100 years ago, that's the 5th richest country in the world. The phenomenon was so prevalent that in the U.S., somebody's talking about some other person that's real rich here, and the measure would be that kind of richer than Argentina. Now, what do you see?
The disaster zone.
Slightly above minimum, just third world.
Yeah, just defaulted again.
Yeah.
And that idiot Fernand Cristina
Yeah.
finally got punted out.
Well,
The damage was done.
Well, the big change that first brought off this on was Juan Perón. Y'all know about Juan?
Yep.
Evita. Evita Perón was not elected. Do you know anything about her?
Her background, she came from she was a poor family. She was a singer, model, and a gorgeous woman.
She had the biggest shoe collection in the world.
And at the end of the day, but basically it was the rags to riches when Dear Old Juan was absolutely bowled over by her. And yeah.
All right, she was not elected. She was Hillary Clinton on steroids.
Tell us how you really feel.
She personally fired all welfare folks. She personally took over Jesse. She would sit and dole out the money as they lined up and came past her. They'd kiss her hand, the greatest woman in the world. Now, that phenomenon still prevails down there in the minds of a lot of people. Did you pick up on that when you were there?
The Peronis? Oh, absolutely.
Sir. And we are following exactly the same steps.
Yep, you are.
They think they're getting something from the government. Well, they cannot get anything from the government except what the government steals from them. And so if y'all want to be desperate for something to do, Google Nation's Business Magazine. Nation's Business Magazine. June 1961. There's an article in there, pattern for federal takeover of your business. Now in that article you see this clown getting out of this Cessna 172. His name's Nelson Nash. These are my forestry days. A government program is coming along, Wayne, that would take over all the timberlands of private landowners in the United States.
Really?
Because you see, we're running out of timber. Everything that goes on in Washington, D.C. is based on fear. They create a problem in people's minds, and then they devise a program to solve the problem they created.
Yeah.
When do you catch on? When do you catch on? There's no way. You got to learn how to succeed.